Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you had a good long weekend. We still have a few people logging in, so we are going to give them a minute to get settled and then we'll get underway. Thank you. Okay, I think we are ready to go. Thank you for joining us for the Community Care, Knowing Your Rights and Prevention Strategies for Elder Abuse webinar. My name is Sakina Bora and I work as the Communications and Education Coordinator at ARAS. I've been with ARAS for about 18 months now. We would like to start the webinar with an acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Ghana people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Ghana people as the traditional custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Ghana people today. Our speaker for the webinar is Doris Geoffrey. Doris is the operations supervisor and a senior advocate at ARAS. Doris is passionate about the need to raise awareness of issues concerning older people and how they protect their rights and safeguard their future. She chairs the Alliance for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, also known as APEA, which consists of agencies of last resort who work to prevent and minimize the risk of elder abuse. With a degree in social science, Doris has worked in the aged care sector for 18 years and sits on many committees and steering groups to ensure that the voices of older people are heard. I would like to thank all our attendees who've joined us today. Just a quick reminder that the webinar is for community members receiving aged care services or are looking to access aged care services, family, friends, and representatives of those individuals, and community members. If you're part of the aged care workforce, we recommend that you attend some of our future webinars that will be specifically designed for the aged care workforce. Please keep an eye on our website, which is www.sa.agerights.asn.au for details of upcoming webinars. Also, ARAS wishes to remind participants to maintain self-care and follow the Australian Government Department of Health COVID-19 social distancing guidelines and SAPOL's emergency management directions if you're participating in the webinar with other individuals. So just a few housekeeping topics. We are recording today's webinar. We will share the recording with you after the event is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your network. We also invite your questions. So please look at the Q&A box on your screen. If you think of a question for Doris at any point, just type in there and I'll pose it to her at that time, or hold it for the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. If we do not get to respond to your question today due to time constraints, we will develop an FAQ and we'll email it to all the attendees over the next few weeks. Please note, you can also post your questions anonymously. There is a checkbox in the Q&A box that you can click. To acknowledge World Elder Abuse Awareness Day on the 15th of June, we are encouraging everyone to stand up and speak out. We request everyone to share messages and photos on our Facebook page. Here are a few ideas. Wear a purple ribbon, wear something purple, bake Something Purple, host an online event, tie a purple ribbon to your tree. We will acknowledge all the organizations and individuals participating in this activity at our WeEd online forum on Friday, 12th of June. Well, that's a perfect segue into my next point. I would like to invite you all to our World Elder Abuse Awareness Day online forum, which is this Friday, the 12th of June at 10 a.m. Adelaide time. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers, including the Honourable Minister Stephen Wade, who will open the forum, Dr. Honourable Kay Patterson from the Australian Human Rights Commission, and Janet Anderson from the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission. I'll send everybody a registration link in a follow-up email. So to help us better understand who's on the other side of the webinar, I'll just quickly run a couple of polls. So poll 1 is up now. If you could just take a second or two to respond to this poll just by clicking on the option, that would be highly appreciated. Thank you. Just a couple more seconds. Excellent, thank you. And just another one as well, just to understand where you're attending the webinar from currently. I can see a lot of people from interstate have joined us today, which is exciting. And a lot of people from rural remote as well, which is good. Excellent. I am going to close this poll now. Thank you. So without further ado, I will hand over the presentation to Doris.
Welcome everyone to Aged Rights Advocacy Service. We are also more commonly known as ARAS. And it's wonderful to hear so many of you have registered for this webinar. That tells me that people do want to be informed about services in the community and how these services may be able to assist you. So these are the topics for this morning. So here's the agenda. I will be speaking about our service, how to raise concerns regarding home support and home care services, Charter of Aged Care Rights, what is elder abuse prevention strategies, safeguards for Age and Well program, and then of course at the end of this presentation we'll be also wanting some feedback. So firstly, I'm going to be talking to you about our funding body. So ARAS has been supporting older people in South Australia to uphold their aged care human rights since 1990. We are highly regarded and respected in the aged care sector. ARAS is funded through the Department of National Aged Care Advocacy Program, also offers OPAN, Older Persons Advocacy Network, there's so many acronyms, as well as Office for Aging Well SA Health. So ARAS is the South Australian member of OPAN. Now, you may not have known this, but we are a free service. We are a confidential service, so any information you share with us remains confidential unless you give us your permission to share your information with other services. We will provide you with information in regards to your rights and entitlements when it comes to receiving aged care services. And of course, we offer individual advocacy support. We do lots of education to service providers and volunteers who work in the aged care sector, as well as health and allied health professionals in hospital settings, as well as community groups such as Probus clubs or legacy groups, and of course the general community. We also offer policy advice to organisations looking at preventative strategies when it comes to elder abuse. ARAS recognises that cultural diversity is very important, so we will only use professional interpreters upon request, and that is at no cost to the consumer. We will not use family members for obvious reasons, because we would not know what they are interpreting to the older person, so we would only use professional interpreters. Given our current climate, we are aware that older people in the community have reduced their care services or Commonwealth Home Support Services because of the fear of transmission of COVID-19. Our concern is that would place the older person in a more vulnerable position, especially older people who are likely to be self-isolating. Family circumstances during this time where children who are out of a job may have moved back in with their parents. Older people may feel under financial pressure and may even reduce their services just to meet the family needs. Support is available by contacting ARAS or the Older Persons COVID-19 support line on 1800 171 866. These are our key service areas. So we will advocate on behalf of people who reside in Australian government subsidised aged care facilities. We also advocate on behalf of people who are receiving community care services and who are still living in their own homes. Services could be the Commonwealth Home Support Service or the home care packages. So I'm just going to just provide you with a bit more information because I will be speaking a lot about Commonwealth Home Support Services as well as home care packages. And for those who are not receiving these services as yet, would like to know perhaps a little bit more as to what services are included. So if you are receiving a Commonwealth Home Support Service, you would include help with housework, personal care, meals and food preparation, transport, shopping, allied health, social groups. A home care package is for more complex needs at home and includes personal care, support services, nursing, allied health and clinical care services. Now, back to our key service areas. So we will also advocate on behalf of people who are experiencing or who are at risk of experiencing some form of abuse. Aboriginal advocacy provides a culturally sensitive service in all of our key service areas. Retirement Village will advocate on behalf of a resident who lives in a retirement village who may have contractual issues or management issues. We will also support the older person at SACAT hearings. Aged Care Navigator trial is the Aged Care Navigator assists older people to access aged care services. So ARAS can connect you to My Aged Care for services that you can continue to live independently in your own home. So this is exactly what advocacy is. This is what we do. So it is the process of standing beside someone and supporting them to understand and exercise their rights. ARAS is there with you to make sure that your voice is being heard on the issues that are important to you. So our role as an advocate, as an ARAS advocate, we will take your side. We will take the time to listen and identify any relevant issues and concerns that you may have. We discuss all of the options and strategies so that you can make an informed decision. We then establish an action plan, and together we will work towards achieving a satisfactory outcome that you want. And we will only proceed with your consent or your legal representative's consent. Now, as an ARAS advocate, and when it's not COVID-19, we would normally visit the older person at home. The older person can also come and visit us in our office, or we can discuss the situation over the phone. So this is in regards to your care plan. So we can support you establishing agreements and care plans when you commence your Commonwealth Home Service or home care packages. We can review agreements and care plans with you. Your care plan should be reviewed every 12 months when circumstances change. We can also negotiate fees and address any issues or complaints that you may have. Now, if, however, you wish to raise a concern about your service, you can firstly talk to your care provider. You can also lodge a written complaint, or you can contact ARAS. If you are still dissatisfied and the issue is unresolved, you can contact the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission on 1800 951 822. But again, ARAS can assist you throughout the whole complaint process. We are there with you. Now, we all have human civil rights. It doesn't matter what your age is, what your culture is, or no matter where you live, we all have the same rights. We also have additional rights when receiving aged care services. Now, the Charter of Aged Care Rights was introduced in July 2019, and this was to make it easier for you to understand what you can expect from aged care services. Aged care service providers have a responsibility to support you to understand the Charter. There are 14 additional rights, and it is very important for you to know what your rights are when receiving aged care services. You have a right to complain and a right to an advocate if your rights are in breach. So let's now go through the Charter of Aged Care Rights. As I said, there are 14. I would just like to show you that this is the form, the Charter of Aged Care Rights, with the 14 rights there. Now, as you can see down the bottom, that you are encouraged to sign. The provider needs to sign this form to indicate that they have sat with you and have gone through the 14 rights. So you have a right to safe and high quality care and services. You deserve the best service that they can possibly provide you in a safe manner. You have a right to be treated with dignity and respect. So, for example, do they knock on your door before they come into your bedroom? Have your identity, your culture and diversity valued and supported. Service providers should have a culture of inclusion and respect and should be delivered culturally safe. You have a right to live without abuse and neglect in your own home. Be informed about your care and services in a way that you understand. Your care should be written in your care plan, as well as being provided about your rights in a format that you understand or in your own language. You have a right to access all information about yourself, including information about your rights, your care and services. Being provided with all information will help you to make an informed decision. You have a right to have control over and make choices about your care and personal and social life, including where the choices involve personal risk. You should be supported to take risks to live the best life you can. So see if you can tell me what right this gentleman is expressing. Do you prefer to be called geriatric, elderly, or senior? I prefer to be called Mr. Stevens, thank you. So what right do you think he's expressing?
So if everybody could reply by typing their answers in the Q&A box, I'll just give them a couple of seconds. Thank you. So Doris, somebody said right to have a name, dignity, self-respect, right to be treated with dignity and respect.
Fantastic, that's exactly right. So, you know, he does have a name, so please use it and, you know, treat him with respect. He doesn't want to be pigeonholed. Thank you.
Doris, we just have a question here. Will ARAS help with establishing a care plan when someone is first setting up their service?
Most definitely. As I said, when you are doing a care plan, and especially if you're new to the whole aged care plans in regards to services, when they are, you know, at the beginning of the plan, that we can be there at the appointment and support you. Or we can also, when it's reviewed, perhaps in 12 months, or when things do change, that we can also support you at that appointment as well. We will be there upon request if you need us to support you with the agreement and care plan. Now, here are the other 7 rights that we have when it comes, the additional rights when it comes to receiving aged care services. So you have a right to have control over and make decisions about the personal aspects of your daily life, financial affairs and possessions. Personal and clinical care should be delivered exercising your choice as well as making your own decisions when it comes to your finances. Your independence. Continue to do things that you want to do for yourself. So this is really important. Maintain your independence as much as possible. Be listened to and understood, particularly when you want to raise a concern. You have a right to have a person of your choice, including an aged care advocate, to support you or speak on your behalf. You have a right to complain free from reprisal and to have your complaints dealt with fairly and promptly. Feedback and complaints should be used to improve the quality of care and services and not used as a tool for retribution. You have a right to personal privacy and to have your personal information protected. Privacy should be respected and personal information should be kept confidential. You have a right to exercise your rights without it adversely affecting the way you are treated. Appropriate action should be taken in response to complaints, and you should feel safe and encouraged to do so. Now, this is my favourite. See if you can tell me what right this elderly lady is expressing. Honey, I've been through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, taught nearly 14,000 children, administered 4 elementary schools, and outlived every one of the pastors I worked with. I'm 89 years old and you're telling me it's bedtime? So what right do you think she's expressing? And look at the body language here.
Again, if everybody could submit their answers in the Q&A box. Thank you. So we've got a couple of responses, Doris. Choice, human rights, choice and control, the right to make decisions for themselves, right to choose, her choice, respect rights.
They're all correct, absolutely correct. So that's fantastic. So now you're getting it. So it is so important that you are aware of your rights. I just want to give you a very quick scenario. Now, this actually happened to a friend of mine. Her name is Maisie. Maisie is 84 years old and she needed to have surgery. So when she went into hospital, she had the surgery done. But just want to give you a bit of background about Maisie loves staying up at night, reading books or watching TV. But when she went into hospital after the surgery, she had this nurse that came round and switched off the light. Now, Maisie is very confident and she will certainly speak up for herself. So she actually said to the nurse, "Young lass, you come back in here and turn on that light, please. I am not ready to go to bed." Now, I bet you if Maisie was about 30 or 40, do you think that would have happened? No. So there is a lot of ageism when it comes to your rights being breached as well, unfortunately. Now, here is a gentleman who didn't know what his rights were either. And what happened here was that she arrived at the man's home ready to help him around the cleaning of the house, domestic assistance, and also showering. Now, the man would not allow her to supervise his showers at first, but after a month of this, the care worker was discussing her patient with two colleagues who knew him quite well. One mentioned his chain smoking habit and the nicotine stains on his beard. "But he doesn't have a beard," the worker said. The other two insisted that he did. So a quick check of the address revealed that she was actually going to the wrong house, showering the wrong man. So this actually did happen. So not to mention the safety of the worker who went into a stranger's home and assist him with showering. But now he wasn't going to complain because he was getting all these services free. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that the other gentleman, if he knew what his rights were, he should have contacted the agency and said, "Where is my worker? Is she coming? I haven't seen her." But he didn't. So this could have been avoided if he only rang the service. So it's really important that people do speak up. And if you don't feel confident to speak up for yourself, then don't forget about our service. We will be there to support you. So now here's a change of pace. Definition of elder abuse. Elder abuse can be defined as a single or repeated act or lack of appropriate action occurring within any relationship where there is an expectation of trust, which causes harm or distress to an older person. Now, the key words in this definition is where there is a relationship of trust with the older person. So abuse by a stranger is not covered in this definition. And as you can see, abuse can take various forms, such as physical, sexual, psychological, which is the verbal abuse, the shouting down to the older person, the intimidation and threats, financial, and or neglect. Now, here are the types of abuse that are reported to ARAS, and this was in the last financial year. So as you can see, psychological abuse, just under half of our cases psychological abuse is reported, alongside with financial abuse. Where there is one form of abuse, you will usually find another. And who are the alleged abusers? Just over half of our cases, the alleged abusers are sons and daughters. Unfortunately, these are the people that they should be trusting the most. And in fact, around 80% of alleged abusers are family members. Here are some risk factors. So physical and psychological abuse, physical and psychological dependency, where the older person is dependent on their adult children. Social abuse is also another risk factor, where they're not connected to family or friends, or they may be geographically isolated, living in rural or remote areas. A diagnosis of dementia or mental health issue is another, and there may be a history of family conflict. So here is a question I would like to impose on you. Why do you think would an older person not tell anyone about the abuse that they are experiencing?
Again, if you could reply in the Q&A box. Thank you. Okay, we've got a couple of responses. Fear of it getting worse, fear of losing services, too afraid or embarrassed, fear of worse abuse, they are scared, embarrassed. Yeah, fear of worse abuse. Yeah, Doris.
Okay, excellent. Yes, I think that you have mentioned all the ones that have been given to ARAS when we are talking with the older person who is experiencing some form of abuse. They are in denial of it happening. They think also that if they do seek assistance, that perhaps nothing will change. They do stick by family, and that they believe that it should be kept, in the home. It shouldn't be going out to other people. They fear retaliation by the abuser. A lot of the threats and intimidation that we do hear about from older people is that, for example, if you don't give me the money, that you will never see your grandchildren again. Can you imagine the emotion that the older person would go through when that is said to them? Fear of residential care placement if abusive carer is removed. And of course, the shame and embarrassment of this actually happening to them by someone that they love.
Doris, we had a couple of responses, and perhaps you may want to comment on those as well. One was, their life has always been this way. And second is, it is culturally accepted.
Yes, well, it may have, or it may have always been that way, because, as I said, there may be domestic violence history, but that doesn't make it right. And it's really important if the older person or somebody who knows of the older person who is experiencing abuse could contact ARAS, and we could discuss the situation over the phone. It could be confidential as well, and you could contact us anonymously. But the important thing is that you do take that step, and to make sure that that person is safe and provide them with the information. So sometimes people don't know or don't want to have a service included in their situation. So if you're already part of that family, or you are providing a service to the older person, you already have a foot in the door. So it's important that you still contact us, and we can talk to you about the situation we can also talk to you about some options and strategies that you can then relay to the older person. When it comes to culture, we are certainly aware of cultures where abuse is not even in their language. So we will talk to them about mistreatment, perhaps, not in using the words, elder abuse or abuse of older people, because they wouldn't understand what abuse is. So we would talk to them about being mistreated, and it's not okay. So it doesn't matter what culture you're from. We all have the same rights, and they should be respected.
Just one point, Doris, in this section was, what about the carer who has mental health issues, who's looking after the older person?
Yes, we do get some cases where the carer does have mental health issues, but again, it's really important about providing information as to how they can access services to make sure, even though the person does have mental health issues, that we can also support the older person and perhaps refer them to other services who deals with mental health issues. For example, mental health services for older people. So it's important that people do contact us, and we could provide them with information. If we're not able to help them, it doesn't matter what the situation is, we will always make sure that they are referred to other appropriate services who can assist.
Thank you, Doris. Just a reminder that if you have a question, please submit that in the Q&A box and we'll address them as we go through the presentation. Thank you.
So here are some safeguards. So we always promote prevention strategies when it comes to elder abuse. So it's really important that you do plan for your future. So perhaps look at a donee in regards to a power of attorney to appoint someone that you can trust. Have a look at an advanced care directive and look at lifestyle wishes, end-of-life decisions, accommodation preferences. All those things could be included, written in an advanced care directive. These are legal documents, so it's really important that you do get some legal advice before signing any legal documents, because these can actually be used against you if they are not written correctly. Remain active in the community. So have contacts outside the family. I also suggest visiting your local council. Have a look at their notice boards. They usually have lots of activities that you can participate. So you are not isolated, and you're a member of the community, and, join some activities. I just think that reduce your isolation, reduces your vulnerability to abuse. Be as independent as possible. So ask help from services so that you are less dependent on your adult children. Again, know what services are available out there, so that you are less dependent and you're able to get help for yourself if you cannot do some of the things that you normally would have done. Plan to be and feel safe. Now, SAPOL, the South Australia Police, does have a home safety audit that they will come out and check your security around the house so that you can continue living in your own home safely. So this is also free. It's a free service through SAPOL. Just remember that prevention is better than the cure. Now, this is Australia's first adult safeguarding unit, and it's right here in South Australia. So this is a state government initiative under Office for Aging Well, SA Health, and it commenced in October 2019. So the ASU have investigative powers where the person is at risk of imminent harm. Reports of suspected or actual abuse can be reported to the South Australia Elder Abuse Prevention phone line through 1800 372 310. Now, here are some safeguards for aging well. Now, who doesn't want to age well? This program is supported and funded by Office for Aging Well and is about increasing community awareness to live a positive life and age well. To live a positive life and age well, there are 4 key messages. So you can do this by staying connected. Keep in touch with your community, with family and friends. And you can do this by Skyping, FaceTime, video or conference calls. And I think during the current climate, because of COVID-19, we've all had to learn some kind of technology. And I can raise my hand to that as well. I'm included. I never used Skype before, and I certainly use in Skype all the time now. Stay active, go for a walk or other forms of exercise, do some gardening. Stay healthy by eating healthy. Lots of protein, fruits and vegetables. Make sure that you are also update with all your health checks with your GP. Stay in control of your life. Ensure that you are in control of your finances. You can see these are videos that you can actually order from ARAS. They are free. We have Live in a Positive Life, and we also have the Aboriginal Elders Live in a Positive Life. So you can contact us and we can certainly post these out to you free. And here are some other examples of other activities. So you can go bike riding or learn new computer skills, or perhaps you may have an interest in arts and crafts. So there are lots of things that you can do to stay connected to your community, stay active, stay healthy, and of course, stay in control. Appear recipes for living well. Now, these are fantastic. And again, if you wish to order these, you can contact ARAS or send us an email and we can post these out to you. These cards are also available on our website. So you can ensure that your wishes are being upheld by updating your will. Have a power of attorney in place to someone that you can trust to handle your financial affairs. Advanced care directives in regards to your lifestyle wishes, your preferred accommodation, and end-of-life wishes as well. And again, I will stress that before signing these legal documents, please do seek legal advice, as these documents can be used against you. Now, just to summarise what we have discussed, ARAS is here to assist you. So please just contact us on 8232 5377 or our toll-free number, which is 1800 700 600, and we can discuss the situation over the phone. Your care plan. This is so important. So when you are commencing a service, please make sure that there is a care plan put in place. And again, we can support you at your appointment in regards to your care plan and the signing of your care plan agreement. We've gone through how to raise a concern. So just very briefly, firstly, speak to your provider. You can also do it in writing. You can also contact ARAS. But if you're still not satisfied or the issue is unresolved, then contact the Aged Care Quality Safety Commission. But again, ARAS will be there with you every step of the complaint process. We've gone through 14 additional rights when it comes to receiving aged care services. Now, when it comes to elder abuse, it's really important that you think about some prevention strategies, some of the things that we have already discussed. There is no excuse for abuse. And safeguard for aging well and living well. Thank you. If you do have any further questions, or you would like more information, or about some of the resources that we have spoken about, you can contact us on 82325377, and our toll-free number is 1800 700 600. And there is also the Older Persons COVID-19 support line, which is 1800 171 866. And here are all of our other IT addresses when it comes to website, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much for joining us.
Doris, we do have a couple of questions. One of them is, what is meant by an advanced care document can be used against you?
Well, if you don't express what your wishes are, say, for example, you want to remain in your own home with services for as long as possible. But if that's not included in there and you haven't informed your family that this is what you want happen, well, say, for example, you have a diagnosis of severe dementia. Family members can sell your home using the power of attorney, of course, and then place you in residential aged care. So this is going against your wish. So that's what I'm saying. These documents, if they're not done correctly, they can be used against you. So it is really important that, you know, your wishes are expressed in these documents. But also let your family know. This shouldn't be done in secret. You should have a conversation with your family as to what your wishes are when you can no longer handle your financial affairs or your lifestyle wishes.
We've got another question, Doris. How can family assist from interstate when parents cancel services?
How can parents, sorry?
How can family assist from interstate when parents cancel their services?
Look, you can contact ARAS, and there's the Older Persons COVID-19 support line on 1800 171 866, or you can contact ARAS to discuss what the situation is. And especially if there is an advanced care directive, it doesn't matter if you do live interstate and the older person is here in South Australia, we can still support the older person. If you are the older person's representative, that we are able to take in your instructions to make sure that the person is living safely if they are still in their own home.
Okay, thank you, Doris. A final opportunity to ask any question that you may have to Doris. Okay, okay, we do have one more. As a personal carer, should I report directly to ARAS if there's abuse despite of informing my organization and there's no action?
We do hear of this, but we have heard where service provider managers, they will say that, you know, when a carer comes back to them and reports what they have seen whilst caring for the older person, But, managers may say, look, that's none of your business. You're only there to do your job. Just get in there, do your job and get out. So it's really important that if you do see something and you do report it to your manager and your manager doesn't want to get involved, it's really under your duty of care that you do something about what you have seen or heard. So it's important that you can contact ARAS or you can contact the Adult Safeguarding Unit. So, you do have a choice, but the important thing is that you do something about it. So please contact either ARAS or the ASU.
Thank you. There's one more question, Doris. Can you contact family members directly if we call you?
So when you're saying if we call you, family members calling us, is that what you're saying?
No, what it says is, can you contact family members directly?
Oh, I see. If ARAS will contact family members. As I said, we are a confidential service, so we will not share any information about what we receive from an older person and discuss that with family members unless we have the permission of the older person. So no, we don't just contact family members. We need permission to do that if the older person wishes us to talk to family members. But I will also add to that we do have a policy at ARAS where if the family member is the alleged abuser, we will not consult or confront the alleged abuser. Because I believe that once we're out of the picture, then the older person has to deal with the alleged abuser. And it would be, why did you go to someone about what's happening? I told you not to say anything to anyone. So if it's an alleged abuser, no, we will not contact them.
Just as a continuation, what the person clarified is, as a family member interstate, can you call parents in SA? So I'm assuming yes.
Yes, if you're a family member, perhaps if you are the guardian of the older person or the older person has dementia, you're a representative, then with the permission, we will contact the older person if you feel that they are at risk or that they are isolated and not looking after themselves, they're not having any services. With permission, we can contact them if the older person, may have a diagnosis of some form of dementia. But if the person does have mental capacity and is able to make their own decisions, then the family member interstate, we would suggest that they can contact the older person, provide them with our phone number so then they can call us.
Another question, can anonymous reports be made if abuse is seen or suspected?
Yes, certainly. As I said earlier, that you can make any reports to us anonymously. But of course, there is so much that we can do when abuse is reported anonymously. If the person is at imminent risk or harm, then we will contact SAPOL to do a welfare check.
Thank you, Doris. I think that was the last question that we had. So thank you everybody who joined us today. But before we end our webinar, can I request you all to just answer a couple of polls? I'll be just sharing them quickly. So here's the first poll. Are you better informed about your rights? Just a couple more seconds. Thank you. Okay. And here's the second one. Do you know how to raise your concerns? Okay, just a couple more seconds here. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who joined us for today's webinar. Thank you, Doris, for your presentation. If you have any additional questions or would like to connect with the ARAS team, you can reach out directly using the contact information on the slide, or of course, you can reach us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.
Okay.